Hey, it's your old pal Lucid Stu again, and we are back looking at another high-speed rail city pair concept in the United States, this time from Los Angeles, California to Phoenix, Arizona. Firstly, let's take a look at the metros involved. Los Angeles is a city of 3.8 million people with a metro population of 13 million. Both are the second largest in the country, behind only the gargantuan metropolis of New York City. Los Angeles International Airport is the fifth busiest in the country. Los Angeles Union Station is the 13th busiest train station in the country. The ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach combined are the fourth largest in the country, so it's kind of big and kind of important. The LA area has light and heavy rail, bus, and express bus services through Metro. Commuter and intercity rail is through Metrolink and Amtrak. Phoenix has a population of 1.6 million within a metro area of 5 million, making it the 10th largest metro in the US. Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport is the 12th busiest in the country, carrying about 2/3 as many passengers as LAX. Remarkably, the city of Phoenix has no intercity passenger train station. It closed down in 1996 and has endured a series of odd uses since. The Metro has one, but the Amtrak station in Maricopa is 25 miles from downtown Phoenix. In this video, we aim to remedy that. Between LA and Phoenix, you also have the Inland Empire, a metro of 4.7 million, mostly around 50 miles east of Los Angeles. That is home to Ontario International Airport, the 56th busiest in the country. In the most populated parts of the IE, transit is provided by Metrolink, Amtrak, and a variety of bus operators. 50 miles further east, you have the Coachella Valley with a population of 500,000. While included in the Inland Empire Metro, it is a geographically distinct area. The area is home to Palm Springs and Palm Springs International Airport, which handles about half as many passengers as Ontario International. Sunline Transit provides bus service in the Coachella Valley. That gives us a metro total of 22.7 million, which is the most populated US travel corridor under 500 miles that doesn't involve New York City. Before getting to the route I chose, let's look at the guiding principles that shaped it. There are three main principles, each with some sub-principles. Number 1, speed and safety. This will require grade-separated, sealed corridors to keep trains, vehicles, and pedestrians from rubbing shoulders. Ideally, you'd like to also separate from freight rail traffic, and you want your rights-of-way to be straight. Number 2, cost. Avoid expensive work like tunnels, trenches, or aerial structures, keeping things on the ground when possible. Use existing rights-of-way to keep land acquisition costs down. Number 3, urbanism, stations in urban cores and connecting to major airports when possible. There is some contradiction between the three, and which is preferable will depend on the situation. I'm going to do two versions of this route. First will be a more Brightline West style, stick to the freeway when you can type route to save money. Then number 2, a more California high-speed rail type route where it's only taxpayer dollars, no expense spared, make it probably faster than is practical. For technology, a conventional Alstom Avelia Liberty or Siemens American Pioneer 220 will perform similarly and are approved for use in the United States. Both are capable of 220 miles per hour in service, but I will limit them to 200 miles per hour, as that is common practice in Europe in order to operate them as efficiently as possible. Let's start in Los Angeles at LA Union Station and work our way east. The area directly around LA Union has limited redevelopment potential. Unfortunately, it is somewhat cut off from downtown by the 101 freeway. Most of the denser development in the area is a mile or two away. Here's a look at the 15-minute travel sheds for walking, biking, and transit. There is no good way into and out of LA Union Station from the east. Forget about it. Let's look at some examples from California High-Speed Rail's buildhsr.com website. They're all dumb. LA Union is a dumb station location, but we're stuck with it. I'm picking one of the more novel solutions, a 380-foot radius half-circle curve over the LA River just southeast of the station. This would be more than a mile of track just to get under the Hollywood Freeway 2,000 feet from the station as the crow flies. If you think that's bad, it would be twice as far coming into the station from the east. From there, you're looking at 2 miles of cut-and-cover tunnel to join Union Pacific right-of-way in a trench for about 1.5 miles. You might be able to approach LA Union more directly from the east if you split the tracks here. Union Pacific tracks would need to be reconfigured to make it work, but there's room for everything. You're looking at 30 to 45 miles per hour the first 5 miles. Back into a 2 3/4 mile long tunnel to transition from Union Pacific right-of-way to Interstate 10 just before Atlantic Boulevard. The single-track rail right-of-way in the I-10 median is currently used by Metrolink for service to San Bernardino. A word on freeways in this area. I am making an assumption that it will be feasible to convert carpool and/or bus lanes into rail right-of-way here. If that is not possible, you're likely looking at a lot of viaduct and more tunneling at quite a bit more expense. 5 miles of straight before reaching some curves in El Monte. I have those at 60 miles per hour. A brief cruise at 60 miles per hour on the straight for a few minutes before getting there. Straight for another 8 miles through Covina with one curve, radius of 1 mile, keeping speed to about 110 miles per hour. Up next is the San Jose Hills, which rise 700 feet from the valley floors of Covina and Pomona, which they separate. This is not only curvy, but you're looking at 5% grades on either side. Remember, we're going Brightline West style in this one. They'll be taking on challenges like this in the Cajon Pass, so up and down we go at 60 miles per hour. From there, we want to get into Union Pacific right-of-way in Pomona. Thanks to our 5% grade, we can just squeeze underground in time before losing the carpool lane space at the State Route 57 interchange. Unfortunately, State Route 71 here doesn't work on the surface, but we can follow it underground for 2 miles. The right-of-way here is straight and wide enough for 6 tracks and mainly carries 3 or 4 until splitting in Montclair. After the split, the right-of-way is wide enough for 4 tracks and carries 1 or 2 until our first stop at Ontario International Airport. Ontario is a city of 180,000. This will be our Inland Empire stop. Of note is that this station would be only 3 miles from the planned Brightline West station at 8th Street in Rancho Cucamonga. Connections between the two have been studied. This would open up the possibility of adding Las Vegas into the mix on the other end of Brightline West. There is about 100 acres of land within half a mile of a potential station that could be developed. However, the area is somewhat isolated and wedged between the airport, the freeway, and a bunch of suburban-style office buildings with copious surface parking. Non-car transit difficulties are clear looking at the travel shed maps. From LA Union Station to Ontario International via this route, you're looking at 39 miles of track that could be traversed in 29 minutes for an average of 80 miles per hour. That's twice as fast as driving with moderate traffic. Heading out from Ontario to the east, we intersect Interstate 15, which represents an opportunity to head south to San Diego, like in California High-Speed Rail Phase 2 plans. I cover that in another video, check that out in the card and description. From there, still plenty of room in the right-of-way, but Union Pacific tracks may need to be reconfigured slightly. Further east, a large set of Union Pacific yards poses an insurmountable object, so I'm going to follow a California high-speed rail suggestion, roughly following a 50 to 60 foot wide drainage ditch that parallels the freeway. This could be capped, tracks would run under reconfigured intersections. It wouldn't be cheap, but there are only 7 intersections that need to be reconfigured. I have that at about 110 miles per hour for 9 miles before reaching the city of Colton. There, the tracks would transition back to the south side of Interstate 10, parallel the Union Pacific flyover of BNSF tracks, and then cross the Santa Ana River. Then either into a trench or at grade with reconfigured Union Pacific tracks through Loma Linda. There is room for 5 tracks in the right-of-way here, and it mostly only contains 2. Then our route out of Southern California to the east, San Timoteo Canyon. This is a narrow canyon formed by faults and San Timoteo Creek. It is 15 miles long and the only viable transition between San Bernardino Valley and the San Gorgonio Pass that is not a tunnel. The canyon itself is not terribly windy, but the Union Pacific tracks running through it are. If we parallel those, I have speed between 45 and 60 miles per hour, so let's see if we can improve that without breaking the bank. This is my 110 mile per hour version. Residents won't be fans, but it is possible. Some viaduct would be necessary, but surprisingly only a few structures need to go. We'll stick to the Union Pacific right-of-way through San Gorgonio Pass. This pass separates the coastal areas of Southern California from the desert with a peak around 2,600 feet. The Union Pacific right-of-way is 150 feet wide through here, so it's convenient, but also slow. That continues into the Palm Springs area, where I like a stop at the intersection of Interstate 10 and Bob Hope Drive. This location has good access to the freeway and the airport, which is 6 miles away. It also has a decent amount of land around it for development. This is 72 miles east of Ontario International Airport. Like Ontario, there is going to be some difficulty transiting anything but the immediate area without a car. I have a travel time between Ontario and this station at 49 minutes for an average of 89 miles per hour. LA to Coachella Valley would be 112 miles, 1 hour, 20 minutes, and an average of 84 miles per hour. Driving is roughly 2 or 3 hours depending on traffic. The route would continue between Union Pacific tracks and Interstate 10 until following Interstate 10 east in the city of Indio. Here the I-10 median is 60 feet wide, plenty of room for 2 tracks. Then it's into an 1,800 foot climb to Chiriaco Summit just south of Joshua Tree National Park. There are some 6% grades here, but they can be eased slightly with trenching. Geometry here would support 90 miles per hour. Halfway between Indio and the summit, conditions ease up and 135 miles per hour is sustainable for 30 miles until reaching Desert Center. From there to Blythe, 50 miles to the east, the freeway has some tighter curves and odd jogs that would constrain speed to 110 miles per hour. To sustain that the whole way, the route needs to occasionally escape the interstate median on viaduct. From Blythe, the route crosses the Colorado River into Arizona and then tackles a couple of hilly passes. Grade isn't bad, but the interstate is windy through the first set of hills. We'll need to improve one curve to maintain 110 miles per hour through there. Curves through the second set of hills are more generous and can support 150 mile per hour travel. Now finally a chance to break out and reach top speed. The route is straight enough between the second set of hills and Buckeye, Arizona to sustain 200 mph travel for 80 miles. At Buckeye, we'll transition to State Route 85 South at 90 mph and adjacent to that in order to hook back up with Union Pacific right-of-way into Phoenix. Remember, this is the cheap version, so we'll run blended on or next to Union Pacific tracks without grade separation from here. Geometry: the first 20 miles east of Buckeye can sustain 90 mph. The remaining 12 miles would run at 60 mph until reaching the former Phoenix Union Station. I find nothing special about this structure. Yes, it's over 100 years old, but it's not an attractive building, nor is it a fine example of its architectural type. I'd tear it down along with everything between the tracks, Jackson, 3rd and 5th Avenues, and build a new modern facility. The surrounding area is mostly civic in nature, but there are some surface parking lots that could be converted to mixed use. Amenities like an arena and stadium are about half a mile distant. No need to connect directly to Phoenix Sky Harbor. Light rail 2 blocks north can handle that. Here's what the current transit situation looks like from the site. However, we've made it to Phoenix with our less expensive version. Let's talk travel times and cost. I have the 261-mile trip from Coachella Valley to Phoenix taking 1 hour 57 minutes for an average of 133 miles per hour. That renders a 373-mile LA to Phoenix trip of 3 hours 13 minutes for an average of 116 miles per hour. Before getting to cost, let's briefly discuss my cost estimation algorithm. It's simple. I ask 4 questions. Number 1, is the right-of-way new or existing? Number 2, is the area urban, suburban, or rural? Number 3, does it run on the ground, in a trench, on an aerial structure, or in a tunnel? Number 4, what is the effect of regional variations in construction and engineering? Here are some examples of existing projects and the results of my algorithm compared to more expensive surveys. It's nothing fancy, it's only meant to produce ballpark results fast enough to make a video in a week. With all that said, I have this 373-mile route from Los Angeles to Phoenix costing $37 billion. That is $99 million per mile. Now let's see if we can make it faster. Back to the LA Union Station area, our transition tunnel to Interstate 10 is slightly longer at 3 miles, getting a train up to speed slightly quicker. In El Monte, we'll deviate from the Interstate 10 right-of-way and enter a tunnel. This would avoid several slow-speed freeway curves, pass under the Rio Hondo, afford a connection to the El Monte Transit Center if we want it, move under the San Gabriel River, and then finally reemerge 4.5 miles later in Baldwin Park, near the original In-N-Out Museum and In-N-Out University. In West Covina, the freeway has that approximately 110 mile per hour curve. This faster route would rise on viaduct briefly and fly over that in a wider arc. At the San Jose Hills, we'll utilize a tunnel to stay at full speed. This would be about 5.5 miles long into Pomona. The rest of the way into Ontario International Airport is the same. At 38 miles, our new travel time is 16 minutes for an average of 143 miles per hour. East of Ontario International, I'm not a fan of this freeway-adjacent California high-speed rail idea. Let's find something faster and probably not much more expensive. Just east of Interstate 15, we'll utilize a 1.25 miles of bored tunnel to reach Slover Avenue in Fontana. Slover is a 75-foot wide dead straight 4-lane street. We'll utilize that to cut and cover a tunnel for 8.5 miles. Then another bored tunnel, this one 2.5 miles long, to get back into the Union Pacific right-of-way in Colton just before crossing the Santa Ana River. In Loma Linda, we'll take out a park, reconfigure and rebuild 2 road bridges, and put a cap on San Timoteo Creek to facilitate a full-speed curve into San Timoteo Canyon from the north. I have devised a route through the canyon that supports 200 miles per hour. It would take out half the properties anywhere near the creek though. At the southern end of the canyon, instead of following Union Pacific tracks through the San Gorgonio Pass, we'll continue along the creek until reaching a hill that would need to be tunneled under. Quite a bit different through the pass this time, both trying to maintain speed and avoid the Morongo Indian Reservation. I'm cutting across a golf course for a couple of 150 mile per hour curves to get to the far southern end of the pass. Adjacent land is available for remediation. Abutting the mountains, some structures would need to go and a few half-mile tunnels would be needed to maintain speed. Then rejoining the Union Pacific right-of-way near the existing Palm Springs Amtrak station. Same location for the high-speed rail station at Bob Hope Drive, this time at 111 miles and 34 minutes faster at 46 minutes for an average of 145 miles per hour, including the stop at Ontario International. There are a couple of curves running through Coachella Valley in the Freeway corridor that can't be gotten better than 150 miles per hour without extreme measures. At the split between Interstate 10 and State Route 86, we'll curve a little further south on Viaduct before entering the hills. This area is tough because there is a long, steep slope into these hills from nearly every angle. The presence of the Mecca Hills Wilderness area decreases options considerably. I managed to knock that approach down to a 3.4% grade at the steepest with a 5-mile long tunnel to handle the summit. If the interstate geometry wasn't too slow entering from the west, that approach would be slightly better. 150 mile per hour travel would total 58 miles through here. After that, it would be top speed of 200 miles per hour for a while. Route geometry would not stick to the interstate right-of-way here, and it would cross the interstate a few times to maintain high speed. This is partially mitigated by a lot of land around the freeway in this area being under Bureau of Land Management jurisdiction. The only real challenge is the east side of Chiriaco Summit, which can be handled with a 2-mile long viaduct at a 2% grade. I'm choosing to circumvent most of Blythe on the south side. There would be a few casualties, but nothing too bad, then cross the Colorado slightly south of the freeway. We're back to the pair of hilly parts near Quartzsite, Arizona. The terrain is rugged here, but the general grades aren't bad, and most transitions can be handled with earthworks. I'm keeping the route on the south side of the freeway to get around the Arizona port of entry. Maintaining top speed would require 2 short tunnels through the first set of hills, combined with a bit of viaduct to stay over creeks and washes adjacent to the various peaks. Then rejoining the interstate median through Quartzsite. Same situation for the second set of hills, but only 1 tunnel needed. After that, we're cooking with gas all the way to Buckeye like the cheap version. However, this version will continue along Interstate 10 and at top speed for another 8 miles past State Route 86 for about 200 miles of continuous 200 mile per hour travel. Guess how long that would take? However, that will slow significantly at Jackrabbit Trail on the outskirts of Phoenix. From here, it's conceptually similar to my Phoenix and Las Vegas video. If you haven't seen that, check it out. Link in the card and description. The north side of Interstate 10 through here can support a somewhat windy 125 miles per hour, which is pretty good for a suburban area. Some at grade, some viaduct, but that will get you east to 51st Avenue. Here we'll do something a little different from that Las Vegas video. We're going to hop back into the Interstate 10 median and get underground before the freeway gets curvy. Once underground, we can go anywhere, but why not bookend it by completing our journey once again at the current Union Station site? To do that, we'll need a 4-mile long tunnel that will surface at 15th Avenue. There is currently a morass of freight rail in this area, but it would be easy to demolish a few low-grade industrial yards and move the freight tracks south half a block. One at-grade crossing between the tunnel and the station, but it doesn't really matter. And here we are once again at our brand new fancy Phoenix train station. Travel times. First of all, we've knocked 5 miles off this bad boy. Way faster at 2 hours 14 minutes. That's an impressive average of 165 miles per hour, including the 2 stops, which would make this one of the quickest high-speed rail routes in the world. Also 1 hour 26 minutes and 179 miles per hour on average between Phoenix and Coachella Valley, and 1 hour 58 minutes and a 168 mile per hour average between Phoenix and Ontario. This is a pretty fast train, but before we get to the LA to Phoenix cost, let's check one last thing. What is demand like between the two areas, and how does this compete with air travel? I have daily nonstop seats at roughly 10,000 on 90 flights between Phoenix and the Los Angeles area. That's about 5 fully loaded high-speed rail trains. How about competitiveness on time? I have flight time for PSP, ONT, and LAX to PHX between 2 hours and 2 hours 15 minutes when accounting for additional airport time. We have the super speedy high-speed rail route between 90 minutes and 2 hours 15 minutes to Phoenix, so it could capture a significant amount of air travel. Now for the cost of this 2 hour 14-minute version of our high-speed rail route. We know it won't be cheap. Place your bets. I have this ridiculously fast route between Los Angeles and Phoenix with stops in Ontario and Coachella Valley, featuring 37 miles of tunnel for the low price of $63 billion. That is $171 million per mile. That's about half the projected cost of California High-Speed Rail Phase 1, Los Angeles to San Francisco. Is either version worth it? Which one do you like better? Let me know in the comments. Plenty more of your favorite channel series on the way, and another Stu's News on the last Monday of the month. By the way, I'm now offering super thanks for those that want to contribute monetarily to the channel beyond ad revenue. If you're interested in that, click the thanks button below the video. But that's all for now. Until next time, I'll see you on that big beautiful freeway.